This short video lecture will focus on digital marketing and its importance in an overall marketing plan. First, let's do a brief compare and contrast with traditional marketing strategies. In both strategies, you need to understand who your audience is, you need to segment your product, and you need to promote. So you do that in digital and traditional, but the main difference would be in digital marketing, we want to create a two-way communication stream or otherwise known as engagement. So that's really the key difference between the two. Search engine marketing is what we're going to be focusing on here, and it is part of an overall digital marketing plan. And what we're going to see, these are some of the elements. What you're going to see is that SEO, or search engine optimization, is part of search engine marketing. So we're going to be looking at that. Anytime, if you've ever built a website for a business, you ask your client, what are their favorite websites? What do they like? What colors do they want? What kind of feel? What kind of organization do they want? And many times when we've been asked to do that, we use our clients look at Apple as a ideal website. So we're not talking about copying the website, we're talking about modeling it. And then in the hotel business, the hospitality business, the Hotel del Coronado is a really good one. And these are links you can click on if you like to see what those websites look like. They're simple, but complex at the same time. And so the simplicity is really important. And you need to not try to teach your target audience how to use your website. You want them to see it, understand it, and then be able to go into the key areas. And that's where visual hierarchy comes into play. They expect to see the navigation bar on the top of the screen for most businesses now, as opposed to on the left-hand side, which is the way it was 10 years ago. The menu bar, the navigation bar needs to be consistent. It needs to be responsive and accessible. And so you're going to be downgraded in your SEO scores if you're not responsive across all platforms. Laptop, tablet, and smartphone. And then you've got accessibility needs, if someone's hearing impaired, they need to have access to the information. And then it needs to be conventional. And the first items pretty much support that. And then that leads to credibility and user centricity. So I invite you to look at these websites as models. Apple as e-commerce, the Hotel del Coronado as something more like for the hospitality industry. Now we're going to look at what search engine marketing is and what it does. And it's really about designing a system so your website is early in the search process for the users or for the prospects. The first page, ideally, of a search, that's ideal. Without it, if you're on page 5, what happens is on a Google search, then what's going to happen is you never get past the information stage. You're not identified as an alternative, so you don't get past this stage in the consumer purchase process. Then no one's going to compare you to anyone else, and nobody is going to evaluate you, and nobody's going to make a purchase. So you really need to focus on getting your website, early in the search process for a prospect, if you will. Now, search engine marketing is the umbrella, and underneath it is search engine optimization and pay per click. If you notice here, This is where search engine marketing, um, uh, search engine optimization, part of search engine marketing. This is represented on the left-hand side here. And this website placement is there because they use quality practices and they've been optimized with search engine optimization. Pay-per-click, all that means is that this particular, which is the same business, it's the Hotel Del Coronado, they're there because of the ad, because they're paying to be there, because they're using pay-per-click. Every time you click on that site, you are going to cost them $1. Let's just round it off to $1. Every time you click into the site, it's another $1. So you need a budget, you need an escrow account, if you will, with Google Ads. And then every time somebody clicks on it, but this one, you're not paying for it. It's there because you're using quality practices. And we'll talk a little bit more about that. Why would a business have the same placement basically as a pay-per-click, and why would they have it organically here using SEO? Because they're using this as a defense mechanism, because other businesses can bid on a business's keywords, branded keywords like the Hotel Del Coronado. If they do that, then if a user or a prospect types in Hotel Del Coronado, they will go to that competitor. So the Hotel Del Coronado is using pay-per-click, and they're using SEO here organically to try to lock out a competitor from unscrupulously bidding on their own branded keywords. And this happens, by the way. So this is a defensive mechanism. So to key the differences, or to outline the differences, we want to look at SEO as it's organic, and it's there. You're not paying to be there. It's organic. Now you have to pay people to optimize your website, but that's not the same thing. It takes a while to work. It is an ongoing process. And what I mean by that is you can optimize your website really well, but it may not show right away. The results may not show right away, but the residual benefit can be seen as long as your website's up there. Now, it's not a set it and forget it situation. You have to keep optimizing. You have to keep working on it. But it is organic, and it's really important that established business uses good SEO practices. As far as PPC, just or pay-per-click, after it's set up, the results are instant. If you're bidding on a keyword phrase or a keyword, and you're the number one bidder, you will be number one on the page. It doesn't matter if your website's terrible, it doesn't matter. And it requires management and the budget to be refreshed constantly, basically, if you're going to use this. But once the budget is stopped, results stop too. So that's something to keep in mind. Now, here's the argument for SEO over PPC, that 70 to 80% of users ignore, I'm going to go back for a second, they ignore this, I'm sorry, one more. They ignore the ad, they ignore this. 70 to 80%, even though they have this here and it's number one on the page, it's basically a paid placement, pay-per-click, they're going to go here instead. And so why is that? And that's because, back to this slide, that's because prospects don't like clicking on ads unless they have to. They see the term ad and they don't like it. Or there might be another term for an ad, but they see it and they understand it. They're afraid of being put on an email list, or they're afraid of being your cookies going into their system, and or your IP of your computer, and they're going to track you. So they're really afraid of that. So that's why most of the traffic goes to the first organic placement or the first SEO placement. I just want to touch on two areas we look at. We look at on-page SEO and off-page SEO. And I'm going to go over some of the key elements to each one. On the one on the left here, the content's really important for SEO. Need to have good grammar, well written, not too long of text, but good descriptive text that doesn't overuse keywords. And that's really important. You don't want to overuse keywords. You don't want to, because that's going to be a negative signal to Google to derank you if you use too many keywords and they're not naturally used. Images should be clear and concise and load quickly, and that's part of the page speed issue. So this is what's happening on the page. There's other issues too, but those are some of the key issues you want to watch if you're trying to improve your SEO score, or your otherwise your same thing as your website ranking. What gets ignored a lot though are the off page, things that happen off the page, outside the website, that affect your SEO, your social media, the links you have built over time. Links equal to Google. They show Google authority in an industry or a business. So they're looking for more links to a lot of links to your business, gives you a high off-page score. So does effective social media in terms of consistency, if you're on the right platforms, and the engagement of your audience. So the reason I show this is because most marketers or most businesses really focus on page, but they sort of push off page to the back, which is not really a great strategy. Now, I just want to touch on keywords now. So keywords are a big part of optimizing your site, and you need the right keywords. If you use the common, we call them short or head keywords, and there's two types. There's that, and then there's the longer keywords, which are more descriptive. We recommend using both because there's a higher conversion rate on longer tail. We call them long-tailed keywords. Higher conversion rate, less traffic though. See, the traffic goes up and down. So, like for example, if shoes is what you're selling, you're going to have a lot of activity in shoes. The problem is a lot of search volume, but a tremendous amount of competition. So you're really not going to stand out there at all. So the biggest retailers are probably going to have the biggest showing for short head keywords. As you get into longer tail keywords, this is something where smaller players can get in the game, if you will. You've got lower search volume, but higher engagement. So you're going to have a lot less people typing in best running shoes for kids. But if you're optimized for that phrase, they're going to probably come to you. So that's what the value of the long tail keywords. Another example might be hotels, San Diego for the Hotel del Coronado. And then a longer keyword could be beach hotel, San Diego. That might help you. Another one could be bed sheets, if that's what you're selling. And then a long tail would be bed sheets that keep you cool. So you always want to be thinking about keywords and the head keywords, but really trying to, develop long tail keywords that are descriptive of what you sell. Lastly, I want to show you how you can measure your search engine optimization, your SEO score on Google. This is a site right here. You click on that. You type in, when you click it in, you put in the actual web address of any business you want to test. Now, I should tell you, this is really important. You can only do this once a day, every 24 hours. This is a free service for once a day. If you want to use it as part of your business and have a lot of more activity in this system, you got to pay for it. It's a subscription fee. But what it does, I put in that hotel, the Hotel del Coronado, the exact web address. And here's the, with the HTTP :// you got to put the whole thing in. Okay, exactly. And then it shows the website, what it looks like on the homepage. And then it gives you a dashboard score. In this case, they gave them a B plus. SEOP Timer gave them a B plus, because then they should have an A rating. But what happened was, most websites have some form of deficiency. A lot of websites have really like an F for links because they haven't worked at it very hard. But they do a great job on-page SEO. They do a really good job, the content, the keywords, all that. Their links, because they've been around since 1888, they've got their authority. They've got all kinds of links. Usability is a fail. I'll go over that in a second. Performance is pretty good. They use a lot of video if you go to the website, and so it's hard to perform really well with that, but it's good for them. And their social media is really good. This radar chart shows the big gap here. If they could have filled this in, they'd probably have an A rating. But what you can do now is you can click on, when you're live on this site, you can click on, for example, the usability. And when you click on that, it tells you what needs to be improved. And, and so that's really that's a value to anyone working on SEO. And so it says they've got usability issues across devices. And what that means is that the SEOP Timer system and Google didn't like the way this dominates. So they have this, for cookies, dismiss, and they have cookies here, you can dismiss. So they don't like the way the website shows across multiple platforms. Now, last thing I'm going to say is 70% of searches are on mobile platforms, especially smartphones. So it's incredibly important to fix this. And hopefully they have, but if they run an SEO score, so they have an A rating otherwise. And that means just higher organic placement, more people finding them, more prospects finding them, etc. So you really want the highest scores you can get. That concludes this lecture. Thank you.